everyone, and welcome to another episode of DABCC TV. I'm excited. We don't do a lot of videos. We don't do enough videos is the problem, and we have something I've really wanted to show you guys for a long time. We've talked about it. We've had Kevin on many times to talk about FSLogix, but today Kevin is going to show this to you. So, Kevin, thanks so much for taking the time to do this with me today.
Doug, always a pleasure.
I look forward to this. You know, like I said, we talk about it a lot. You know, I've had you on, I think, you on twice and Randy on once to sort of follow the progress of one of my favorite solutions, FSLogix. But today you're going to show us. So this is going to be really cool. But before we do that, we do have to talk a little bit, right? Come on, you can't hang out with me without talking, right?
You know, you and I, yeah.
Exactly. So, as always, if somebody doesn't know who you are, can you give us your quick bio? Who are you, and give us your bio.
Sure. So, I am Kevin Goodman. I am the CEO of FSLogix. As you see on the screen, we've been around since 2013, and with myself and three other gentlemen, Randy Cook, Jim Reurin, and Brian Mann, we founded this company here because we believe that your Windows desktops ought to be easier to get those applications and your user data on them than what you're doing now. We work with Citrix, work with VMware, work with Microsoft. And as we're going to go through it today, Doug, we're going to show you easier to manage your apps, your users' data, and get you to where you can do large-scale VDI, Zen-App, View, whichever.
You got it. And physical machines also, which is one of the things I really love about you guys. You're not just a virtual solution. You also work seamlessly on physical devices, right?
Yeah, that's correct. And, since I'm talking to you, I kind of got that blinders on about, app and desktop virtualization. Yeah, but the fact of the matter is we support Windows 7, 8, 10, 2008, all flavors, 2012. And we really don't care whether you're physical or virtual.
Absolutely. By design. I also want to congratulate you on the Synergy Best of Synergy 2015 winner of Application Desktop Virtualization. That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the congratulations actually has to go to Randy and his team. He's the one who envisioned all this, and he told me way back when we were doing it that this is what the people need. And what the judges told us is one of the big factors in it was, in fact, that we supported virtual.
Yeah.
So you can install it on your virtual, use it there as long as you that we supported physical.
Yeah.
You install it on your physical. If you're using it to migrate, that's perfect. You get started right there. Or if you just want to remain physical, then that is fine.
Well, the reality is that people have a combination of the two, right? I mean, you can count how many people are 100% virtual. I won't say that, but not as many. Everyone has a little bit of everything. That's just the reality of the situation.
I truly believe the pundits and the analysts and stuff that say we're in the post-PC world, but we are not completely there yet.
We're designing for the post-PC world, but the real world, the enterprise, lives in the past, and they always have and they always will, unfortunately, right?
Well, it's just a big beast to get moving. Some of this stuff is complicated, and why would you just change something that's working?
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, the thing is, though, what we talk to customers is they tell us, it took us a long time to get this up and running. Our profile solution is handcrafted by elves, and we're loath to change it. We set up our Zen app, Zen desktop environment way back when, and we're loath to change it. And then they talk to us, and they find out that, times have changed. You're spending money and labor, and in many cases, hardware that you shouldn't be spending anymore. So why don't you take a look at this, and instead of, working harder, work smarter is easy to say and difficult to implement, but we'll show customers how, a typical Zen desktop environment that you've seen designed in the past, we're actually counterintuitive to it. But if you look and see how much you're actually spending on that, you'll realize, wow, this is a better way of doing it. Perfect example of that is typically, Citrix calls Zen application virtualization, don't they?
Yep.
Yeah, so what you do is you have a Zen desktop, and then you publish, applications. You isolate them on servers from um, your Zen desktop by isolating them on Zen app. If I can, let me jump into this and give you an example.
Perfect.
Right here.
Well,
All right.
let's do that. Let's see it.
So let me create this dragon before FSLogix does a great job of slaying it. But a typical environment you might have is, I need a desktop, so I publish it with Zen Desktop. And then I might have 4 or 5 different Zen app servers to publish my different Java applications, because you know how we have to isolate them. And if you have a Java application that is stuck on an old version, you don't want that on your desktop where that version of Java allows you to get out to the outside world and cause issues. Or I have different versions of the same app, like Office 2010 and Office 2013. Or even perhaps I have 2 different kinds of versions of the same app, Adobe Pro and let's say Reader. And Adobe Pro, I mean, these apps are licensed per user, per named user. So I can't just stick on my Zen desktop for everybody to use Pro. I only want it for the users that are paying for it. One way to do that is stick it in Zen app and pay for a license just for those users. What we're doing, though, Doug, is something a little bit different. What you're seeing on the screen right now is 4 different views, 4 different RDP sessions into the same RDSH server. And we did it at the lowest common denominator, right? Remember, I said we just work Windows. But in this case, this is the same. This is terminal services, good old-fashioned terminal services. But we work Citrix, Zen app, Zen desktop, Horizon View, Microsoft, VDI, and RDSH. And if I could draw your attention to the top left, this user right here, and I don't know if I'll zoom in on this guy. I don't know if you recognize this document, but this is yours, Doug. Remember that?
Shameless.
You wrote this for us.
Yeah,
All right.
enjoyed that.
Yeah, so this is everyone. You can go up to Doug's site and get a free copy on howtofslogix.apps. And
step by step. You don't even have to, all you have to do is look at pictures and you can have this thing installed in about, 10 minutes, something like that. It takes longer to read my ramblings than it does to install it.
So here's your user who is creating this document. He needs Adobe Pro, and maybe for whatever reason he needs Office 2013. I've got a blatant ad up for one of our other products that I'll go into in a second. But let's go in here and let's take this user down, and let's go over here and look at this guy over here, a similar user, but he hasn't been trained on Office 2013 yet, so he's still using Office 2010. Now, remember, this is the same image. Instead of publishing apps to this image on a desktop, what we've done at FSLogix is we figured out a way to have both of these applications on the same image. And check it out, this user right here, he's just consuming this document. He's reading it. He doesn't need Adobe Acrobat Pro, he just needs Reader. So consequently, he can read your fantastic pros that you have here. And over here, you can see, based from the icon, you can tell that this is Office 2010, right? So let's move him out of the way and come over here and take a look at this guy right now and remind me to tell you about this PowerPoint. But this guy right here is, we'll get to this in a second. This guy right here is using OpenOffice. He is, let's say, a contractor. I don't want to spend an Office license on him, right? Because as a contractor, I know he's going to come and go, and he's only going to consume PowerPoints. Perhaps he's not going to be creating them. So if you take a look at that person right there, you can see why spend a license on him. Make sense so far?
Yep, you bet. I follow you.
All right, well, now let's go to the administrator's desktop. Again, same image. This guy right here, this will explain what we're doing. This is our rule editor. And with FSLogix, there is some best practices on how to install multiple versions of Office and Adobe Reader and Acrobat Pro in the same system, multiple versions of Java and things like that. But let's take a look at it. Basically here, what we have is a rule for Office 2010. On the right side, you have resources that Office 2010 uses. And in FSLogix, what we do, in the FS, Doug, by the way, we said this before, the FS stands for File Systems. Randy Cook and my other co-founders are all ex-Symantec people, and if anybody knows it's File Systems, it's those Symantec guys, right? Well, what they do down at the file level is they take these resources and they either show them to a user or they restrict them, or as we call it, hide it from a user. So in this situation right here for Office 2010, we've set up some assignments. So for everyone, the everyone group in Active Directory, or it could be a local group too, we're going to apply this rule, which means by default, no one gets Office 2010, except what we call the plus group. By default, and this is important, no one in the plus group, this rule will not run for them. That means for that guy over here who's in that Office 2010 group, he is running Office 2010 natively. This hasn't been sequenced, it hasn't been packaged, it's not been published from another server. It's running right here natively. That is the best way to increase your session density. And it is also the best way, the best performance you can get is by running an application natively. Now, if we go back to that console, let's take a look. Let's cancel out of here, and let's take a look at the Office 2013. And voila, you're going to see just the opposite. Everyone, we're going to turn 2013 off, but for the premium group. The premium groups are Office 2013 users, and inside that Active Directory group, anybody who's a member of that will see Office 2013 running natively at the best performance that you can get on a Zen desktop or a Zen app or whatever your choice is, View Horizon. Does that make sense so far, boss?
You bet. I follow you completely.
Well, let's take it a little further then. I think I mentioned a little noise about Java. Java has been, remember when it came out, it was write once, run everywhere?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we don't want that version to run everywhere anymore because we found out that version that they started with has security flaws in it. So we've come out with another version and another version. The problem with writing it once is sometimes you get stuck on that version. We have a control on our FSLogix website right now that I'm showing you. It's stuck on version 7 update 45. As a matter of fact, if you go to our website today and you have a later version of Java, it's not going to run for you. All right, it just doesn't run with the latest version of Java. So one thing we could do here is we could publish stand up a Zen app server, only install Java 7 update 45 in there, publish it onto this desktop. But then what happens when you come out to another app? In this particular one, we got Java version 6 update 45 from javatester.com. I guess you stand up another Zen app server and publish that. And then let's move on to, we find these test Java pages all over the internet. Here's another one that needs 6 update 45. And here's another one that's using 8 update 40. So, think about that. Now we're talking about 4 Zen app servers. Well, there's all kinds of versions of Java out there, and there's all updates to them and stuff like that. That is a lot of... Now, as I told you before we turned the recording on, I am a VMware user. I'm ex-VMware, and I'm in love with VMware, mainly because I own their stock. But I don't want to pay that VMware tax if I don't have to. Why should I have that many Zen app servers out there just to serve up Java apps? And if I'm a small shop and I'm not on data center, do I really want to pay the Microsoft OS license for those as well? And not to mention, eventually that's going to get down to whoever your choice of hardware is. In my case, that would be an HP server to house those, because you can only have so many VMs within a hypervisor, right? Before you have to go and expand out to other servers. Do you really want to pay all that tax if you don't have to? Right now, the cheapest thing we have going is storage. So what we say at FSLogix is install all of those into the base image. Let us manage them. Here's the Java console right here, Doug. It is as simple as pointing a URL to a version of Java. It's that simple. Again, now we have some best practices on how to get all these versions of Java installed into a single image, but let's just say we do that without sequencing and packaging. All of these guys run natively. For Java, it's actually not that hard. You can install anything from Java 4 upwards, serial in line. So you can install 4 and then install 5 in another directory, 6, 7. Once you get to 8, though, it's like really insistent on deleting all the old versions of Java. So we go in there, we run a hide rule, right? We go right back to our own console that I was showing you before, and we'll run a hide rule that'll hide those old versions of Java from Java 8, so it'll install. And then from there on out, they're all there, and we'll set them up individually. It also works for Java applications. So if you have a Java exe, you could just set that Java exe up and tell it what version of Java to see. For us, doing it this way, using the file system to filter out what Windows sees, is so much more efficient than doing something like access control lists. Access control lists run up in user mode and have to be enumerated for each and every item in there, because it's part of Windows now. So every app, the registry has to be enumerated to see those access control lists or deny ACLs that might be in there. It's so much more efficient to stop it one time down in the kernel for these items. And for this version right here in IE, he goes out and looks and runs the only version of Java he sees. He doesn't see the other versions of Java. If you want to exit out of this and go to a different website, it's going to see the latest version of Java. Only these ones that we told will be able to get back to these old unsecure versions of Java. So with that, in that is pretty much a good overview of our console and how you set up with these applications. The other main thing that we like to think here, and Randy Cook has said this many times, he doesn't want anybody in an organization that owns our software to have the title Certified FSLogix Apps Engineer. So we've tried to make it as simple as possible to run this stuff. You know, you don't, all of these rules right here are pretty easy to create. Let's do a rule right here. All right. And what's going to come up when I'm creating a new rule for an application is, let's pick an app out of the ones you already have installed. Notice I don't have to install our software, then install the app, watch it, sequence it, package it. Let's just scan it. And now we got patents applied for this, for FSLogix Apps. But, you know, basically in a nutshell, what we're doing is the equivalent of virtualizing the uninstall MSI, running it, finding out all the things it would do to uninstall itself, and then capturing it in this rule set over here. So when this scan comes up and gets done, I'll show you all of the items it would need to do to isolate Adobe Reader 11 from the system. And here they are. And it's a variety of registry and file settings. These are the things that Adobe Reader would do if it wanted to uninstall himself. Then we go back to the mentioned assignments before, and we add, you know, either a user or a group. I could actually do it by network location if you want, the IP address, computer name, Active Directory, AD container, any of those things. But you just add one of those and decide whether the rule applies or not. And that's pretty much how you set this stuff up. It's kind of that simple.
That's super, super cool, Kevin. Rule sets. So, do you guys have like a library of rule sets, or you just showed it to us? Do I even need something like that?
So we have a bunch that you can download and take a look at these rule sets. So they're pretty much generic, right? So for me, it's C program files, but in the rule set itself, it's using the program files 32 environment variables. And those rule sets that you can go up to our website and download it for all the popular apps. But you saw how easy it would be to make one for your own internal app. You can download those, and what happens is each machine will then do the replacements when this rule is applied for those environment variables. So you don't have to have your program files folder 32 in the same location that I've stored mine. And I bet the next question is going to be, Kevin, yeah, but so I got all kinds of internal apps and we didn't write an MSI for them. What do I do for them? And what you can do is just go and add some rules yourself. Now, what I should have said is also what you can do is scan just an executable or just enter the program file path, and you could scan an app, and we'll go through it then, and we'll see what it touches in the registry. We'll see what it touches on the file system. And if you didn't get everything, you could go in here yourself and just add items. So to isolate an application from the system, you could either have to hide a rule or redirect a rule. And what that means is, take a look here just for reference. Let me go back here and show you. Look, he has the correct Office 2010 file type association. And over here, he has the correct, if we can find it, right? He'll have the correct Office 2013 file type association. So if you've ever fiddled with file type associations, you know that, in fact, they are HKey local machine by default, which what we can do is we can redirect that to point to the 2013. We can set up 2013 so it has its own file type associations in the registry. We can also then set up 2010 for its associations. Or what we can do is just take a registry entry and for a certain process or user or group of users, give a different value back, right? So I could go here, pick a registry entry, and say for that entry, I'm actually going to give this piece of data instead. So that's what we're doing here to get all the file type associations. Those you can also download from FSLogix. You might have some pretty simple. Doug, what do you think?
I like it. I like it very much. I wanted to ask you about Citrix's app disk. I know you wanted to talk briefly about how you guys are going to support that. Can you show that?
Yeah, I'll be glad to talk about that. So for those who don't know, App Disk was announced, I think, publicly at Synergy, yeah?
Yep, you are correct.
That is correct. Big fans of Citrix and what they're doing, with Zen Desktop. One of the reasons that we are so synergistic with them is because you either use PVS or MCS to push out that image. Now, if that image goes from 20 gig for a typical Zen Desktop image that has apps published onto it, up to half a terabyte because you put all the published applications from your Zen app servers into that image, PVS and MCS don't care. They just push out the bytes that you need. So it is a real perfect match between FSLogix and Citrix. They announced their app disk, and I'm not going to put the words in Citrix's mouth, but I imagine as an outsider looking in, this had to be an answer to VMware's app volumes, right?
Yeah, I would imagine.
I would imagine. So VMware has a product called App Volumes, and let's face it, App Disk is not shipping now. So what you're seeing on my screen may or may not have come from a beta version. But it works similar to the way that App Volumes is going to work. Instead of having a Zen app server publishing up those apps. The idea is let's take that disk and attach it to the hypervisor and use it like a snapshot to bring that application in along with your base image. So, the typical process would be snapshot, set up some preparation, install the application into the snapshot, and then create it here into like one of these app disks that you see here. If you look on the screen here, we got app disks for Adobe Reader, Firefox, iTunes, versions of Java, Office 2010, Office 2013, QPDF, so forth and so on, right? Well, one of the things that's going on at hypervisor level, and you can see pretty simply here at Zen Center, AppDisk is going to support all the hypervisors when it ships. I'm testing it with Zen Center right now. What you'll see, though, is we know, and this is true of vSphere as well, the iSCSI only supports 64 channels, right? You can only have 64 disks attached at a hypervisor level. So if you're doing it the old-fashioned, replacing your Zen app servers with AppDisk, you're going to run out pretty soon. All right? I mean, depending on how many sessions you can get up in your hypervisor, I'm getting up 4 in my little 32 gig machine that I'm playing with. That is coming out to what? Not too many per user. And you get into these situations that you're going to need FSLogix pretty quickly. And what we'll do is, well, we'll, if you want to, have an app disk with all versions of Java on it, app disk with all versions of Office, app disk with all the browsers, app disk with all the internal IT apps, app disks for whomever manages them. So you probably have a guy out there that's who's responsible for all the financial apps within your organization in your IT department. He may be also the same guy in charge of all Office. But right now, if he wants to segregate them out like that, he can put all the Adobe apps in an app disk. And then you'll use the same old logic that you have with FSLogix so that individual users will only see the apps they have licenses for.
Very cool. Very, very cool, Kevin. I look forward to it. Well, I love what you guys do. I really, really do. It's just so darn simple, and it works. I love it. I truly, truly love it. I'm always speechless.
I know how important time is for your Doug Brown viewers. I was going to say listeners, but viewers. Do we have enough time to show our profiles?
Yeah, I would love it. You know what? We like to keep these things sort of short and sweet because they are a video, but heck, please, you got to show it. Okay,
so this is new for 2.0. We call them profile containers. And the idea is Citrix UPM, the other major vendors out here who do profiles, including good old-fashioned roaming profiles. Most of them use folder redirection to enable you to have your documents up on the network so you can roam efficiently when you go from Zen Desktop to non-persistent Zen Desktop, or when you log in from one Zen app server to the next Zen app server. Familiar with folder redirection, yes?
You bet I am.
So what we have seen is one of the issues with folder redirection is, gosh, there's been so much talk about it.
Did you see that recent? There's a stream of articles about 99. I have 99 problems, and folder redirection is all of them.
Yeah. So, and here's the reason why. Yeah. So, folder redirection is the devil. Okay. So. Here's the reason why. So you have your folder redirection, and I don't care if you're SMB 3.0, if you've got SSDs, it's the operating system can only open files one at a time on that server. Now, if you have redirected your desktop and you've redirected your start menu, you have to open all of those folders to extract the icon out of them prior to, log on. And if you have folders in your desktop or your My Documents that are redirected, when you click on that, That's another open. So what happens is you get a logon storm and you get all kinds of opens, and you can look and see, depending on what monitoring tool you're using, you can look and see the lights turn red on that folder trying to keep up with the load. FSLogix has solved this problem by putting everything in what we call a container. Fancy name for a VHD, okay? But the thought is you open up this VHD once, and from there on out, our FSLogix, remember we have file system, the FS stands for file system, and I got all these file system guys as co-founders, then read and write that data as network traffic over the web, right? So you are going to see a significant decrease in the amount of opens and a significant decrease in the amount of data that is transferred back and forth. Why with SMB, you open the file and you got to copy, you do the equivalent almost of copying it down to read it. With us, you open the file and there's a sync for the read, and we've got Windows convinced that's a local sync, so it only reads the bytes it needs, and we provide them to them. One of the biggest benefits of this, and where we're seeing all our traffic, is in Office 365. Office 365, if you want to use it and you want to have that Exchange server in the cloud, you really want Exchange to be in cached mode. But what have we been told about OST files up on the network, Doug?
It's a bad idea.
Verboten. And the reason why is one of the other things that's a big, huge bottleneck, going back here to this first slide, is something called, it's written here as a query file, but basically it is a directory call to find out how to get more space for a particular file that I want to extend. So in your Outlook OST file, every time someone sees you an email, it sends you an email, you have to extend that file. So there are extension requests going onto that server more, as you can see, almost twice as many in the small little test we did, than there are opens and closes. All of them done serial inline. If I was a file system for an operating system like file server, I can imagine how this goes. Hey, I just got an email from Doug. I need to extend my OST file. Can you tell me where I can put it? Yeah, hold on. All right, nobody write anything. Nobody do anything. Nobody open or close anything. I got to find some free space. Oh, here it is. Here you go back. Okay, everyone, you can go back to what you're doing now. Okay, well, I have more than one user on this file server, right? So now, Doug, you sent that to everyone at FSLogix. The congratulations email that you sent to us when we won Best of Synergy. Now, Randy has to do it, and Jeremy has to do it, and Brian has to do it, and they all line up and they go serial in line. Well, fast forward to what we're doing, and you'll find out that it's only one open, and from there on out, we're reading and writing. And so we can write the data as if it was local, so you can finally have a large file like an OST file, or a file that updates frequently, like if you're a SAP GUI user and you have that SAP GUI MDB and stuff like that. That is an example of it. Let me show you. Let me bring this up here. This is Disk Manager. And what we have here is a bunch of people logged in. And I don't know who your favorite football team is, but don't worry, I've got a quarterback for you as logged in. These are just disks that are attached, one per user. So when the user logs in, he gets this disk, FSLogix steps in, attaches this disk, and if you look over here, right, here's me, but if you look over here, these users look like local users to the operating system, and as you go to each user, they think they're working on local storage. So you get really fast, and it is couldn't be any more simple. You set a registry entry for you, and if you want us to convert the user, we'll do it by groups, or you can exclude groups of users you don't want to convert. We'll convert you on the fly. If you're a brand new user, we'll set you up with new profile. If you want to, though, we could migrate all of them for you ahead of time. Here's a little console I have in which we'll support either local or roaming or Citrix UPM profiles, and we can copy, can choose what user you want to choose, or you can choose what folders from folder redirection you want to migrate, and we'll create the VHD for you, and then the user can log in the next time and be amazed at how fast it is. Totally amazed. Typically, our customers are seeing, UPM customers are typically seeing a 75 to 80% decrease in login time.
Wow.
And so we're talking about guys that were really proud of getting their login time down to 40 seconds, and we're doing them in 13. Guys who are over 2 minutes, and we're getting them way down under 30.
Wow.
Now, depending on what your favorite tool is out there, you might find the rest of that login time is because of your group policies. But as far as your profile load, we make it instantaneous.
That's awesome. And that's available now?
Yeah, that's shipping in 2.0.
That's excellent. That is excellent. And it's, Kevin, this is wonderful. I do like to keep these things about 30 minutes, and we're a little bit over, not much though. Anything else you would like to show us?
I think that's it, Doug. I'll just I'll leave all your group with this one thought. It is simple for you to evaluate it as well. It's a simple download from us. You can install it into a server that already has apps in it, and you can test it right there. Typically, our demonstrations that we do a lot of times are actually on your machine.
Yeah.
We say, okay, go to get this link, download. All right, point to this app. All right, turn it off. It's that simple. Yeah. So if you're interested or you want to hear more, the only thing I love more than talking about it is actually showing it to you. So feel free to give us a call.
Perfect. Kevin, thank you so much. And if they want to learn more, what do they need to do?
Let's go to our website, Doug. That would be FSLogix.com. And
love it.
You could start here at our simple version tester, and then you can go off and go to wherever you want to go to evaluate an email.
You got it. Guys, it's really cool stuff. And like Kevin said, it's just so non-intrusive. You can install it on your machine. If you don't like it, you uninstall it. There's not a program with it. It's just this little engine that runs, and when it doesn't run, it doesn't do anything. So it's have fun with this. I think you guys are totally going to love it. Kevin showed you everything in just 30 minutes. It's that simple, but yet it's infinitely powerful. I love it. So Kevin, thank you again for taking the time to show us today. I really love this stuff, and with no further ado, we'll just go ahead and call this an episode. So guys, definitely, I hope you enjoyed it. If you like it, please head over to DABCC.com and also videos.dabcc.com to see a bunch of videos created by me, and then all sorts of vendors, and you got to check it out. I think you'll love it. So on that note, Kevin, thank you once again, and we'll call this a podcast. Sound good?
Sounds great. Thank you, Doug.